Hi everyone, welcome to Yoga with Heini. I'm Heini. This week we're going to do a sequence for back mobility. I created this sequence on a day when my back was feeling very stiff, so I wanted to share this sequence with you as well. We're just gently, slowly getting this back and whole spine moving. Let's get started. For this sequence, you could have a chair or an edge of a bed, edge of a couch somewhere nearby in case you want to use it for a forward bend and at the end for the legs as a support. And potentially a pillow or a bolster for a supported child's pose, especially if your back is feeling really stiff. It might be a nice addition. But those are optional props, you don't have to use them. And we're going to start from child's pose. So when you have your space ready, come onto all fours and then lean your pelvis down towards the heels, towards the feet. And this is where you could bring a pillow or a bolster as a prop in front of you to support your belly, your chest, your head as we lean the upper body down and forward. And make this first child's pose a rather easy child's pose. So let yourself adjust the legs. They could be wider apart, they could be closer together. Let yourself adjust the arms. You could turn one cheek on your pillow or on the mat, or you could bring hands under the head, so that you make this first pose easy on your back. There could be a gentle stretch going on at the back of the spine, maybe around the hips as well. But don't make it too intense. Like I said, especially if your back is feeling stiff, then start with a very gentle pose. And we start to focus on our breath here. I suggest sending a few breaths towards the back. So consciously trying to breathe towards the back of the ribs, towards the lower back. Allow those gentle breaths to move your spine. It could be just a very subtle, like a micro movement. But becoming aware of that relationship between your breathing and your back. The relationship between your breathing and your spine, your whole spine. It's a very close, deep relationship. How we breathe does affect how we feel along the back. So let's take a few more breaths here, just starting to soften any tension there is along the back, maybe in the neck, by finding that softness in the breath, ease in the breath. And if you have your head turned to one side, maybe try turning it to the other side for a few breaths. And then slowly, with your next few breaths, from child's pose, bring yourself up onto hands and knees. We'll start to move more. So now if you have a pillow bolster there, just move it aside and bring yourself onto hands and knees. We'll start with cat-cows. And just find ease in the breath as we start to move. So breathe with the movements. There's no right or wrong way to breathe. With your next breath, round your back up towards the ceiling, like a cat rounding its spine. You can bring your chin closer to the chest. And then with the next breath, open the chest so that we find a gentle back bend. And again, breathing in or out. Round your back. You can also tuck the tail slightly under. And then your next breath, again, opening the chest, coming into a gentle back bend. I'll do this 2 more rounds with your own breath. Rounding the back. Head can come down, so you're rounding your neck as well. And then breathing into that back bend. You can think about here lifting the tail very gently up towards the ceiling. 1 more time, rounding the back. So opening the whole back side of the spine. And then once more opening the front line, coming into that back bend. And then bring your spine somewhere to the center. And then possibly open hands a bit further out to the sides. Next we'll come into the bear. And this is focusing on moving the upper back, the shoulder blade area. We start to make kind of sideways circles with the chest, with the upper back. So there's still some rounding and back bending going on. But really try to focus on circling the upper part of your back. Moving the shoulders and moving the shoulder blades. So we're going a bit more out to the sides as well. And you can still let your neck, your head move. And then from an easy place, let's change the direction. So really trying to bring movement between the shoulder blades and the shoulder blades sliding along the rib cage. Head can move down and up so you can circle the head. Gentle movement for the upper back, shoulders. Let's do another circle. Keep breathing here as well. And then again, bring yourself back to the center. If you want to adjust where the hands are, you might move the hands to a different place. And the next movement, we go to the pelvis, lower back area. So now we start to circle the pelvis. Imagine your tailbone drawing circles in the air. And you can also shift the weight between the hands and the knees. So if that idea helps, think about circling the weight between your knees and your hands. And just try to move your hips, the whole pelvis. It's a very free-flowing movement, but trying to find more movement in the lower back. And the pelvis attached to your lower spine. As we move the pelvis, we start to bring movement to the lower back as well. Let's change the direction. I find it easier to think about the tail moving. So focusing awareness to the tailbone and trying to circle the tail. Or imagining the ball and socket joints in the hips, they are circling as well. Let's do 1 more circle. Again, still breathing in and out. And then bring yourself back to the center. And now we're going to put all of this together and we come into the movement that my colleague Heini named the disco cat. So now we start to circle the ribs and also moving the hips. So we put together the bear movement and that circling of the pelvis. And you can let, again, your neck, your head move. Allow the whole spine, allow the pelvis, the neck to move. And breathing in and out, let's change the direction. So now we're circling both the upper back, the rib cage and the pelvis. Again, it's a very free flowing movement. So intention is just to bring movement to the whole spine. And those big shoulder and hip joints closely connected to the spine. Let's do one more round with your breath. And then allow that movement to calm down and lean back into child's pose just for a few breaths so we get the weight off the hands. That was quite a long time on the hands, on the wrists. So now let the arms soften as you lean down. You could bring hands under the head if you want. And send a few breaths to the back. Let the breath calm down after all those movements. Take another breath in and out in child's pose. And then with your next couple of breaths, slowly start to bring yourself up, maybe into a seat first, and from there we'll come all the way up to standing. So find an easy way up to standing into a mountain pose where you could have your feet about hip width apart, or they could be a bit wider. Where do you feel stable on 2 feet? And we'll start to move a bit more with the arms, shoulders, and then bringing the movement into the spine. First, as you inhale, lengthen your arms up towards the ceiling and let the chest open. As you exhale, bring the arms sideways down and round your neck, your upper back as the arms come down. Same again as you breathe in, arms lengthen up, the chest opens, the whole rib cage can move. And exhale, arms come down and we round the neck, the upper back as the arms come down. Couple more rounds. Inhalation, lengthening up. And each round could be slightly bigger forward bend. So as you bring the arms down, maybe round your back a tiny bit more, if that feels okay. Again, inhale, lengthening up. And exhale, arms come down, rounding the upper back, maybe tiny bit further down, knees could bend a bit. Let's do one more round. Inhalation, lengthening up. All the time, feeling into your back, how much movement it allows you to do now. One more time, arms come down, round the back. And then as you inhale once more, lengthen the arms up. And this time we keep the arms kind of reaching up, and we're going to now hold the left wrist with the right hand. You could bend the elbows. We'll come into half moon, so side bend. First inhale, gently lengthen up through the back, and then as you exhale, lean to your right into a gentle side bend. The right hand could gently pull the left arm, the left side open and long, but be gentle so that you can still breathe. So if you notice that you're not breathing, then come back a bit higher up. Send a couple more breaths towards that left side, that open side. You might look down towards the mat if that helps the neck. And then slowly inhale, come back to the center and release the arms down again. You could round the neck, the upper back a bit. And we'll do that half moon side bend to other side. So inhale, lengthen arms up. And now hold your right wrist with the left hand. Again, shoulders soften down. Next inhalation, lengthen up through the back. And now exhale, bend to your left. And again, keep breathing, especially towards that right side, that open side. You might turn your gaze down. Take another breath in and out. And then inhale, come back to the center, and exhale, release the arms down. And let the arms just hang down a moment. That was a long time, arms overhead. You could roll the shoulders a bit, turn the head a bit from side to side. Good. And then we'll do a bit of moving, twisting here. So at this point, I suggest stepping the legs a bit wider apart and bending the knees so you could move the weight from one foot to the other. And we're going to bring the arms in front so that first your palms are touching. And the idea here is that we slide the arms along each other, or kind of one hand sliding along the other, and start with the arm movement first. And we start to find some gentle twist through the spine. So let your chest turn with the arms. And when you feel comfortable with that movement, we can start to add some kind of shifting the weight from one foot to the other and twisting a bit further. So let your chest open out to the side. You might turn your hips so your neck starts to twist as well. And a few more rounds. Maybe each round the twist gets bigger and bigger. The arms might be a bit bent if there's not a lot of room around you. And let's do 2 more. One, and then 1 more twist. And then slowly come back to center and let the arms come down again. Heel toe the feet closer together so they come back under the pelvis. And from here, we'll come and try a full forward bend. And this is where the chair might be a handy prop. So I'll bring my chair a bit closer in. And if you want to use something to lean on, you're very welcome to do so. So face your chair or another piece of furniture if you're using one, and bring hands, so your feet about hip width apart, or maybe a bit wider apart. And first, slowly start to lean forward with your hips, so bringing chin towards the chest, starting to round the back. And then you could bring your hands or arms onto that chair, or maybe you have a bed, maybe you have a couch there that you could lean onto. And just coming kind of halfway down into forward bend. It might be quite nice to have support under the upper body, especially if the back is feeling stiff. So we start to look for and maybe find that opening through the backs of the legs. Coming into the back, so you might start to feel that opening, that forward bend on the back side of the spine. Allow your hip to lean down. And if you feel like going further down into the forward bend, you could slowly walk or kind of release hands down towards the mat, towards the floor, from the chair, from the bed. But if you feel that makes the pose too intense, don't push it. Then bring your hands back onto that chair. And keep your knees a bit bent here. And we'll do a couple of rounds, just moving the legs. So now, as you inhale, bend your knees, a deeper bend in the knees. And then exhale, straighten the legs a bit. Don't need to go fully straight, just where you feel comfortable. And again, breathing in, bend the knees quite deeply. And then exhale slowly, straighten the legs a bit. Once more, so we are really opening quite deeply the whole back line here. Bend the knees and kind of pumping into that back line. Exhale,
Straighten the legs once more. See how that feels in the back. And then we'll slowly come back up and bend the knees a bit more. Now you could bring hands back onto the chair and then use the chair to push yourself up, or if you feel okay without the chair, just roll the back up. You could bring hands also onto the legs and slowly bring yourself all the way up. If you feel dizzy at this point, leave your chin to your chest for a moment and then bring the head up separately. That was quite a long forward bend and a very big opening for the whole back line. So see how the back feels now. You could do a couple of moving twists here to release the back a bit. And then next we're going to come lie down on the back. And this is where in the end we might use a chair as well. So you could keep the chair about where it is if you have it there close by, just so that you have then room to come lie down on your back. We'll do a bit of bridge movement, a bit of hugging the knees. So first, bring your back onto the mat, onto the floor, and let yourself take a few breaths here. I suggest keeping the knees bent and just let the back rest a bit. We've done already a lot with the back. And if it's been really stiff, it might feel a bit achy when we start to release that tension. So if you now feel it's been enough, you can stop the practice here. If a bridge pose sounds like an okay idea, so coming into a gentle moving back bend, bring arms down next to the sides and have your feet on the mat about hip width apart, so you feel you can press down through the feet. And then inhale here, down on the mat first. And I suggest we exhale, press down through the feet to lift the pelvis off the mat, and then lift the back off the mat, just to a height that feels safe, so that there's no pain in the back. We're now opening a bit through the front of the hips. There's a back bend in the spine. Inhale once more, up in your bridge. And with the next exhalation, slowly release the back and the pelvis down. If needed, you can adjust the feet. I'm going to bring my feet a bit closer to the pelvis so I can more press downwards. And again, inhale down on the mat and exhale, press down through the feet. So we are activating the legs to lift the pelvis off the mat, lift the back slightly off the mat. And here, keep your inner thighs active. Sometimes we get pain in the lower back because we are squeezing too much with the buttocks. So here, keep inner thighs in a way moving towards each other. They really don't need to touch, but there's the idea of them moving towards each other, the inner thighs active. That will balance the action of the buttocks. Take another breath in. And then exhale again, slowly release the back and the pelvis down. Inhale on the mat. And let's do one last round. With your own breath, press down through the feet to lift the pelvis, the back slightly off the mat. And just a gentle height. Make sure you can breathe there. One more breath in. And then exhale, slowly release the back, release the pelvis down. Let your buttocks soften when you bring the pelvis down. And then hug your knees in to the chest, to the belly. can support the legs with your hands and now start to circle the knees. So maybe hands just resting on the knees, circling the legs away from the chest and then towards the chest. A bit like massaging the back of the pelvis and the lower back onto the mat. And from an easy place, again, change the direction. Go a few more times the other way round. Breathing all the time, in and out. Good, and then slowly let that movement, that circling movement, calm down. Take a moment longer to hug the knees. A counter movement for those bridge lifts. And then from here, we'll come into our final resting pose. And if you want, you could do a more traditional Shavasana pose. You could lengthen your legs down onto the mat, onto the floor. You could also come lie down on the belly or lie down on one side. My suggestion today would be to use a chair or the edge of a bed, edge of a couch under the legs. So I have my chair here and I'll bring my calves, the knees, to rest on that chair. So there's roughly a 90-degree angle in the knees, in the hips, about, it could be a bit bigger. And this is often quite releasing for the back, for the hip flexors. You could have the legs wider apart as well if they rest on the chair. So you feel that now at the end of the practice, your resting pose would be as gentle for the back as possible. You could let your arms rest down next to your sides or bring hands on the belly to feel the breath. And then let yourself just calm down, find a moment of stillness and rest as we are slowly coming towards the end of the practice. And here you might feel those small micro movements in your spine as you're just breathing in, breathing out. Allow each exhalation soften any tension you feel along the back. Let the shoulders, let the neck rest. You might turn head to one side if that's more restful for you now. Give yourself at least a few more breaths to rest here. And if you feel like you want to stay here longer, if you have time to continue your practice, you're very welcome to extend your resting pose. You can stay here as long as you want, you need to right now. Or if you're ready to end your practice here, slowly from your resting pose, bring the legs down and roll down onto one side to bring yourself up into a seat, into your own final seat. And take just a moment here, a few breaths, to slowly close the practice. If it's part of your practice, you could bring your palms together in front of the chest. And as always, as we come to the end of the practice, thank yourself for bringing yourself onto the mat into your practice today to look after yourself. And I thank you very much for joining in. Namaste. Good. Thank you so much for joining in. If you enjoyed this practice, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Also, if you know someone who would enjoy this practice, please share it with your friends, your family. It really helps these videos. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.